A man's strength is not proven by how loud he speaks. It's proven by how well he protects what God entrusted to him. In a world where men are taught to chase success, money, and recognition, very few are taught how to protect their home. Today's message is not about dominance. It's not about control. It's about responsibility. Because the truth is simple. When you protect your wife, you protect your life. And when you fail to protect her, you slowly destroy everything you're working so hard to build. This message is inspired by the timeless wisdom of strong men who understand legacy, leadership, and purpose. Stay with me. This might change how you see marriage forever. A wife is not a trophy. She is not something you show to the world to prove you've made it. She is not an item you upgrade when life improves or ignore when life becomes difficult. A wife is not an assistant. She is not your unpaid secretary, your emotional cleaner, or someone whose only role is to support your dreams while hers slowly die in silence. And a wife is not an option. She is not something you pick up when it's convenient and put down when it requires responsibility. She is a partner entrusted to you by God. That alone should change how you see marriage. Because when God entrusts you with something, He is not testing your ability to enjoy it. He is testing your ability to protect it. Too many men misunderstand this. They believe marriage is about possession, but marriage is about stewardship. What you don't protect, you eventually lose. What you don't value, you eventually disrespect. And what you disrespect will never truly stand with you. A man who treats his wife like an accessory will eventually live an accessory life. Always present, but never respected. Always there, but never trusted. Always speaking, but never truly heard. Because respect does not come from dominance. It comes from how you handle responsibility. A woman can sense when she is valued, and she can sense when she is merely tolerated. You don't have to tell her. Your actions already have. Strong men understand something weak men never learn. Providing money is not the same as providing leadership. Yes, money matters. Yes, provision is important. But money without safety creates fear, and fear slowly destroys love. Strong men don't just provide financially, they provide safety, emotional safety, spiritual safety, mental safety. Emotional safety means your wife does not fear your reactions. She does not walk on eggshells. She does not rehearse her words before speaking to you. She feels free to be honest without punishment, free to be vulnerable without mockery, free to express pain without being labeled too much. A man who cannot control his emotions cannot protect anyone else's. If your presence creates tension instead of peace, then your strength is being misused. Spiritual safety means she knows your home has direction, that decisions are not driven by impulse, ego, or pressure from outsiders, that values matter, that faith is not just spoken, but lived. A man who stands for nothing will fall for anything, and everyone under his leadership will fall with him. Mental safety means your wife's mind is not under constant attack from you, not through insults disguised as jokes, not through comparisons to other women, not through silence, neglect, or emotional withdrawal, because wounds to the mind don't bleed, they sink. And what sinks doesn't heal easily. A woman who feels unsafe mentally will slowly shut down emotionally. She may still smile, she may still perform her duties, but she will no longer give you her heart. And when the heart disconnects, the marriage becomes a contract, not a covenant. Here is the truth many men don't want to hear. A woman's power is unlocked by protection. When a woman feels protected, she becomes confident. When she becomes confident, she becomes supportive. When she becomes supportive, she becomes unstoppable. She builds the home with joy. She raises children with intention. She speaks life instead of resentment. She multiplies peace instead of chaos. But when she feels unsafe, she becomes guarded, defensive, quiet in ways that should scare you. not because she is weak, but because she is protecting herself from the one who was meant to protect her. A man who protects his wife is not controlled by her. He is anchored by her, because a protected woman does not compete with her husband. She complements him. She doesn't fight his leadership. She strengthens it. She doesn't drain his energy. She restores it. That is why the home becomes unstoppable. Not because the man is powerful alone, but because the woman beside him is secure. Security produces stability. Stability produces growth, and growth produces legacy. So ask yourself honestly, does my wife feel safe with me, or does she simply live with me? Do my words build her or break her quietly? Does my presence bring peace or tension? Because leadership begins at home, and the way you treat your wife is the loudest speech you will ever give about who you really are. A wife is not an accessory. She is not decoration for your success story. She is a partner entrusted to you by God to build a life that is stronger together than it could ever be alone. And when you understand that, you don't just protect your wife, you protect your life. Protection is not fists. Protection is not volume. Protection is not intimidation. Protection is wisdom. Any man can raise his voice. Any man can show anger. Any man can threaten. But it takes a disciplined man to control his words. It takes a strong man to master his emotions. And it takes a leader to understand the power of his presence. A man who insults his wife is not strong. He is dangerous. Because insults do not correct behavior. They poison connection. A man who humiliates his wife in public is not confident. He is insecure. Secure men do not need an audience. Insecure men perform for approval. When a man tears his wife down in front of others, he is announcing his own weakness, not her flaws. Here's a truth many men refuse to face. Your wife's mind is always listening, even when she says nothing, even when she smiles, even when she forgives. Words don't disappear. They settle. They take root in her thoughts. They replay in her quiet moments. They echo when she is alone. And once words enter the mind, they begin to shape identity. That is why protecting her mind is one of the highest responsibilities of a husband. You must protect her mind from harsh words. Words spoken in anger do not vanish when the anger fades. They stay. They stay when she is tired. They stay when she doubts herself. They stay when she wonders if she is enough. Harsh words turn love into fear, and fear cannot build intimacy. If your wife flinches when you speak, if she grows silent when you are angry, if she chooses peace over honesty, that is not respect. That is survival. A man who creates fear in his own home has already lost his authority. You must protect her mind from public embarrassment. There are conversations that belong in private. There are corrections that require dignity. And there are moments when silence is strength. When you embarrass your wife publicly, you don't just shame her. You weaken the unity of your home. Because public humiliation teaches her one thing clearly. You are not safe when others are watching. And a woman who feels unsafe will stop being herself. She will become guarded, measured, distant, not because she wants to leave, but because she needs to protect her dignity. You must protect her mind from emotional neglect. Silence can wound deeper than shouting. Neglect tells her she is invisible, that her thoughts don't matter, that her emotions are inconvenient. A woman who feels emotionally abandoned will eventually stop trying to connect. She may still be present physically, she may still fulfill responsibilities, but mentally she will retreat, and when the mind leaves, the marriage is already in danger. You must protect her mind from comparison with other women. Comparison is quiet violence. When you compare your wife, even jokingly, you create competition where there should be security. No woman wants to feel replaceable. No woman thrives where she is constantly measured. Comparison tells her you are not enough. And over time, those words shape how she sees herself and how she sees you. A wise man understands this. A protected mind produces a confident woman. A confident woman produces a peaceful home, but a wounded mind produces anxiety, and anxiety slowly destroys trust. The marriage does not collapse in one loud moment. It bleeds quietly, through silence, through distance, through emotional walls built brick by brick, and most men don't notice until it's too late. Here is what emotional intelligence really means. It means understanding that your words carry weight. When you speak, you are not just communicating, you are shaping reality. You are either building safety or planting fear. You're either reinforcing love or creating doubt. Strong men think before they speak. Weak men speak and then explain. Emotional intelligence is knowing when to pause, when to listen, when to apologize. Yes, apologize. Because apology is not weakness. It is leadership. A man who cannot apologize is a man who cannot grow. And a man who cannot grow will eventually stunt everything around him. Protecting her mind also means being consistent. Not loving her today and ignoring her tomorrow. Not kind in public and cruel in private. Not calm one moment and explosive the next. Inconsistency creates confusion, and confusion creates insecurity. Your wife should know who you are, not guess. When she knows you are emotionally safe, she will open her heart without fear. And when she opens her heart, she gives you access to her strength. Because a woman whose mind is protected becomes a source of wisdom. She supports with clarity. She speaks with peace. She builds with intention. But when her mind is wounded, even love becomes exhausting. Understand this clearly. You don't protect your wife by overpowering the world. You protect her by controlling yourself, your tone, your reactions, your words. Because the greatest damage to a marriage is rarely physical. It is mental. And when the mind is wounded long enough, the heart eventually follows. So choose wisdom over ego, silence over insult, leadership over volume. Because when you protect her mind, you protect the foundation of your marriage. And a marriage with a strong foundation does not collapse under pressure. It stands. Sometimes the greatest threat to a marriage is not outsiders, not temptation, not other people, not the pressure of life. Sometimes the greatest threat is the man in the mirror. Your ego, your pride, your stubbornness, your need to always be right. Ego does not announce itself as a villain. It disguises itself as authority, as respect, as this is just who I am. But unchecked ego destroys quietly. It turns conversations into competitions. It turns disagreement into disrespect. It turns love into a power struggle. A man driven by ego is not leading. He is defending an image. And marriages do not survive on image. They survive on humility. Here is the truth. Strong men understand early. You can win an argument and lose your wife. You can prove your point and break the connection. You can stand your ground and watch your home crumble. Because leadership is not about dominance. It is about responsibility. Real men apologize, not because they are always wrong, but because the relationship matters more than their pride. An apology is not surrender. It is strategy. It says, I value us more than my ego. And only insecure men confuse apology with weakness. Real men listen, not to respond, not to interrupt, not to correct. They listen to understand. Because understanding builds trust, and trust builds intimacy. When your wife speaks, she is not attacking you. She is revealing herself. And a man who dismisses her words dismisses her heart. Real men change, not overnight, not perfectly, but intentionally, because refusing to change is a declaration. This is who I am, accept it or suffer. And love was never meant to feel like suffering. If your wife must suffer for your pride to survive, then your pride is too expensive. No marriage is worth the cost of unchecked ego. No home is strong enough to carry constant pride. No woman thrives under a man who refuses to grow. Pride makes men loud. Humility makes men effective. Pride says, I am the authority. Humility says, I am accountable. And accountability is the foundation of trust. A man who cannot humble himself will eventually lose everything he refuses to protect. He will lose peace. He will lose connection. He will lose respect, because respect is not demanded. It is earned through consistency and character. Here is something ego hates to admit. Your wife sees you more clearly than anyone else. She sees past the titles, past the confidence, past the public image. She sees the habits, the tone, the reactions, and when she notices that you always have to be right, she stops trying to be heard. When she sees that every disagreement becomes a battle, she chooses silence. When she realizes that your pride matters more than her pain, she begins to emotionally withdraw. Not because she wants to leave, but because she is tired of bleeding quietly. Self-mastery is the ability to govern yourself before trying to govern anyone else. If you cannot control your ego, you cannot lead a home, because leadership begins with restraint. The strongest men in history were not explosive. They were measured. They knew when to speak, when to pause, when to bend. They understood that flexibility is not weakness, it is wisdom. Marriage is not a battlefield. It is a partnership. And partnerships collapse when one person must always win. Ask yourself, honestly, do I listen to understand or do I listen to defend? Do I apologize to restore peace or do I withhold it to protect pride? Do I correct with love or do I assert control? Because ego does not just affect your wife, it affects the atmosphere of your home. Children feel it. Peace avoids it. Joy suffocates under it. And one day the man ruled by ego wakes up alone, still right but deeply disconnected. Humility changes everything. When a man humbles himself, he creates safety. When he creates safety, his wife opens up. When she opens up, the marriage deepens. And depth creates strength. Protecting your wife from your ego does not mean becoming passive. It means becoming disciplined. It means choosing growth over comfort, understanding over control, purpose over pride. A man who masters himself does not need to dominate his home. His presence speaks. His consistency reassures. His humility leads. Because the highest form of masculinity is not power over others, it is power over self. And the man who masters himself protects his wife without effort, leads his home with wisdom, and builds a legacy that outlives his ego. That is real strength. The world is loud, cruel, judgmental. It demands, it pressures, it criticizes. And if a woman must face that world every day, then come home and face another battle. Something is broken. Your home should be her safe place, not a courtroom, not a battlefield, not another source of stress. If she must fight the world and fight you, she will eventually stop fighting for the marriage. Because no one survives constant war. Leadership is not about control. Leadership is about covering. A man's role is not to expose his wife to chaos. It is to shield her from it. And that begins with boundaries. Protect her from toxic family interference. Not every relative deserves access to your marriage. Not every opinion deserves a seat at your table. Not every voice deserves influence over your home. Family can love you and still cross boundaries. A wise man understands this early. He does not allow his wife to be disrespected in the name of family. He does not stay silent to keep peace while his home suffers. He does not sacrifice his marriage on the altar of tradition. Silence in the face of disrespect is agreement. And when a man refuses to defend his wife, he teaches her that she is alone. Leadership means standing firm, even when it is uncomfortable, especially when it is uncomfortable. Protect her from disrespect from friends who mock your marriage, friends who minimize her value, friends who speak carelessly about your home. If you laugh when your friends disrespect your wife, you are participating in the disrespect. A man who allows jokes at his wife's expense is not easygoing. He is unsafe. Your wife should never have to wonder if you will choose loyalty or laughter. A strong man chooses loyalty every time. Protect her from unhealthy social pressures. The world sells illusions, perfect marriages, perfect bodies, perfect lives. Comparison is constant, standards are unrealistic, pressure is everywhere. If you allow the world to define your marriage, you will never be satisfied. A wise man grounds his home in reality, not performance. He reminds his wife that her worth is not measured by likes, approval, or outside validation. He reinforces identity instead of insecurity. Boundaries are not walls, they are filters. They decide what enters your home and what stays outside. A man without boundaries exposes his wife to unnecessary stress. A man with boundaries creates peace, and peace is protection. Here is where many men fail. They confuse avoidance with wisdom. They say, I don't want problems. I don't want to offend anyone. I don't want drama. But leadership requires courage. A man who avoids confrontation eventually avoids responsibility. And responsibility is the cost of leadership. A wise man builds boundaries. A foolish man builds excuses. Excuses sound reasonable, but they always come at a price. The price is your wife's emotional security, your home's stability, your marriage's strength. Ask yourself, when someone crosses a line, do I speak up or do I stay silent? When my wife is uncomfortable, do I protect her or do I explain her pain away? Because protection is not passive, it is intentional. Your wife should never feel like she is fighting alone. She should know, without asking, that you have her back, that you will choose her in private and in public, that you will defend her dignity, that your loyalty is not negotiable. When a woman feels defended, she relaxes. When she relaxes, she trusts, and trust transforms everything. A home without boundaries becomes chaotic. A home with boundaries becomes strong. Strength is not loud, it is consistent. It shows up in decisions, in silence, in restraint. Leadership is not about pleasing everyone. It is about protecting what matters most. And what matters most is the home you are building. A man who protects his wife from the world is not isolating. He is covering her. He is saying, this home is sacred, and sacred things require protection. When you stand firm, your wife stands taller. When you draw lines, peace fills the space. When you lead with clarity, your marriage becomes resilient because the world will always be loud, cruel, judgmental, but your home doesn't have to be. It can be a refuge, a place of rest, a place of strength, and that is the mark of a true leader. A man who cannot lead spiritually will struggle to lead emotionally, because when there is no direction, confusion fills the space, and confusion creates anxiety. Anxiety creates instability. Instability slowly erodes love. Spiritual leadership is not about perfection. It is about presence. You don't need to know every scripture. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to be flawless. You need to be present. Present in prayer, present in values, present in direction. A home without spiritual leadership is like a ship without a compass. It may move, it may look fine from the outside, but it will drift. And drift always leads somewhere unintended. Pray with her, not as a performance, not as a ritual, but as connection. Prayer is not about sounding strong. It is about becoming humble. When you pray with your wife, you are telling her, I cannot do this alone. And that admission creates intimacy. Pray for her. When she is tired, when she is overwhelmed, when she is silent. Some battles are invisible. Some struggles are internal, and sometimes the strongest protection is intercession. Cover her when she's weak, because everyone has seasons of weakness. Even strong women, especially strong women. Covering does not mean controlling. It means supporting. It means standing firm when she feels unsure, believing when she feels tired, holding faith when hers feels distant. Spiritual leadership is not dominance, it is responsibility. A man who leads spiritually does not drag his wife forward. He walks with her. He sets direction through example, through consistency, through integrity. When a man lives his values, his wife feels secure because stability is spiritual. Chaos creates fear. Consistency creates peace. And peace is the greatest gift a husband can give. Not money, not status, not comfort. Peace. Peace in decision-making, peace in conflict, peace in uncertainty. When a man leads spiritually, peace follows him. Not because life becomes easy, but because life becomes anchored. Faith gives meaning to hardship. Direction gives purpose to struggle. Without faith, pressure breaks people. With faith, pressure refines them. Your wife does not need you to be a preacher. She needs you to be grounded. She needs to know that when life shakes the house, the foundation will hold. That the man she trusts is not led by impulse, not driven by fear, not controlled by emotion, but anchored in purpose. Spiritual leadership also means moral clarity, knowing what you stand for, what you will not compromise, what matters more than convenience. A man without spiritual clarity will make emotional decisions, and emotional decisions create instability. Your wife should know where you stand, not guess. When values are clear, decisions become easier. When direction is established, fear loses power. Protecting her spiritually means guarding the atmosphere of your home. What you allow in, conversations, media, influences, shapes the environment. A peaceful home is not accidental, it is cultivated, and cultivation requires awareness. You cannot lead spiritually if you are constantly distracted. Presence requires attention. Your wife should feel that when you're with her, you are truly with her, not divided, not distant, not mentally absent, because presence communicates value, and value creates security. Spiritual leadership also means humility, admitting when you don't know, seeking wisdom, growing intentionally. A man who refuses to grow spiritually forces his marriage to stagnate. Growth keeps love alive. Purpose keeps marriage strong. Faith does not remove challenges, it reframes them. Instead of asking, why is this happening? Why, you ask, what is this teaching us? That shift changes everything. When a man leads spiritually, he becomes a source of calm. Not because he is unaffected, but because he is anchored. Anchored men do not panic easily. They do not collapse under pressure. They do not abandon responsibility when things get hard. They stay, and staying is protection. Your wife does not need perfection. She needs consistency. She needs to know that when she is weak, you will be strong. And when you are weak, you will seek strength, not escape. Protecting her spiritually is not about control. It is about covering her heart, covering her fears, covering her future. Because when a man leads spiritually, the home becomes a place of rest, and rest restores strength. That is leadership, that is protection, that is peace. Infidelity doesn't start in the bedroom, it starts in the heart. Long before a line is crossed physically, it is crossed internally, in thoughts, in conversations, in justifications whispered to the self. That is why protecting your wife's heart begins with guarding your own. Protect her heart by being faithful in private. Faithfulness is not just what you do in public. It is who you are when no one is watching. When temptation shows up quietly, when attention feels flattering, when opportunity presents itself without consequence. A man of integrity does not ask, will I get caught? He asks, will this cost me my character? Private behavior reveals public strength. A man who is faithful only when observed is not faithful. He is cautious. And caution is not loyalty. Protect her heart by respecting her in absence. How you speak about your wife when she is not present is a reflection of your true commitment. If you complain about her to others, you weaken the bond. If you joke at her expense, you invite disrespect. If you allow others to speak poorly of her, you co-sign the damage. Respect is not situational. It is consistent. A man who protects his wife's reputation protects his marriage's foundation. Because trust is built when a woman knows she is safe even when she is not there. Protect her heart by choosing her daily. Love is not sustained by a moment. It is sustained by decisions, daily decisions. Choosing patience over impulse, choosing communication over silence, choosing commitment over convenience. Marriage does not survive on feelings alone. Feelings change. It survives on choice. Choosing her when life is stressful. Choosing her when she is tired. Choosing her when she is imperfect. Because love that only exists when it's easy is not love. It is preference. The man who flirts with temptation is already betraying trust. Flirting is not harmless. It is rehearsal. It trains the heart to seek validation elsewhere. It weakens boundaries. It normalizes disloyalty. Every time a man entertains temptation, he chips away at the safety of his marriage, and safety is what the heart needs most. Loyalty is not proven when it's easy. It's proven when no one is watching, when the opportunity is silent, when the reward is immediate, when the consequences seem distant. That is where character is revealed. A loyal man does not need constant reminders. His values remind him. He understands that betrayal is not just an action. It is a fracture that damages trust, confidence, security. And trust, once broken, is difficult to restore fully. Protecting her heart also means emotional faithfulness, not giving your attention away carelessly, not sharing intimacy where it does not belong, not building emotional connections that compete with your marriage. Emotional infidelity often feels innocent until it isn't. A man must be aware of where his energy goes, because energy follows attention. And where attention drifts, the heart soon follows. A woman feels it when her husband is emotionally present, and she feels it when he is not. Distance does not always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it arrives quietly, through distractions, through excuses, through emotional unavailability. Protecting her heart means staying engaged, listening even when tired, showing affection even when busy, reassuring even when it feels repetitive, because reassurance is not weakness, it is care. A woman whose heart is protected feels secure, and security allows her to love freely, without fear, without suspicion, without constantly guarding herself. But when her heart feels unsafe, she becomes cautious. Not because she wants distance, but because she needs protection. A man who values loyalty understands that love is fragile, not weak, fragile. It must be handled with intention, maintained with discipline, protected with consistency. Marriage does not fall apart overnight. It erodes through small compromises, through unguarded moments, through excuses that seem harmless. Strong men don't test boundaries, they respect them. They understand that temptation is not proof of strength. Resistance is. They don't ask how close they can get to the edge. They step back from it because they know what is at stake. Your wife's heart is not replaceable. It is not renewable. It is not immune to damage. When you protect her heart, you give her the freedom to trust deeply. And deep trust creates deep connection. Connection strengthens intimacy. Intimacy strengthens unity. And unity strengthens the marriage. Love and loyalty are not loud. They are consistent. They show up in discipline, in restraint, in daily choices. Protecting her heart is not about grand gestures. It is about quiet integrity, doing the right thing when no one is watching. And that is the mark of a man who understands love. A neglected wife doesn't always complain. Sometimes she withdraws. She stops talking, stops smiling, stops believing. Not because she is weak, but because she is tired. Tired of explaining, tired of hoping, tired of bleeding quietly. Withdrawal is not sudden, it is gradual. It begins when her words are ignored, when her emotions are dismissed, when her pain is minimized. At first she tries harder, she communicates more, she gives chances, but when effort meets indifference long enough, silence replaces conversation. And silence is dangerous because silence looks peaceful, but it hides decay. By the time a man notices the quiet, the damage is already deep. Not all wounds are loud. Some wounds are internal, and internal wounds take longer to heal. When a man fails to protect his wife, the home begins to change, not dramatically, subtly. The atmosphere shifts, joy becomes rare, laughter becomes forced, conversations become functional, about bills, about responsibilities, about logistics. But the connection is gone. If you don't protect your wife, your home becomes heavy. Heavy with tension, heavy with unspoken resentment, heavy with emotional distance. You walk into the house and something feels off, but you can't name it. That heaviness follows you into your sleep, into your thoughts, into your spirit. A home without peace will drain even the strongest man. If you don't protect your wife, your peace disappears. Peace is not the absence of noise. It is the presence of harmony. You can have a quiet home and still be restless. You can have success outside and chaos inside. When your wife is not emotionally safe, peace cannot stay. It leaves slowly, quietly, and once peace is gone, everything feels harder than it should. Decisions become stressful. Rest feels incomplete. Achievement feels hollow, which leads to the final cost. If you don't protect your wife, your success feels empty, because success without peace is just a louder form of failure. You can have money and still feel poor. You can have status and still feel insignificant. You can have achievements and still feel alone. Nothing exposes a man's success like his home. A broken home reveals that something essential was neglected. Many men chase success, thinking it will compensate for failure at home. It never does. No award fills emotional emptiness. No money replaces intimacy. No recognition restores peace. A man may be admired publicly and miserable privately. And the tragedy is this: most of the damage was preventable. Protection was always possible. Correction was always available. Change was always within reach. But ego delayed action. Comfort replaced effort. Silence replaced leadership. When a wife stops believing, she stops believing in herself, in the marriage, in the future. And belief is the engine of connection. Once belief dies, the relationship survives only in form, not in spirit. A man often asks too late, what happened? What happened is neglect, not always intentional, but consistent. Neglect of emotional safety, neglect of presence, neglect of responsibility. Protection is not about perfection, it is about awareness. When you fail to protect her, you don't just lose connection, you lose influence, because influence is built on trust, and trust is built on safety. A woman who feels unsafe will no longer be guided by you. She may still listen, but she will not lean. She may still stay, but she will not open. And that is the most painful form of loss. Having someone beside you who is no longer with you. Reflection is not condemnation, it is opportunity. This chapter is not meant to shame, it is meant to awaken, because as long as there is awareness, there is hope. But hope requires humility. It requires a man to ask himself hard questions. Have I been emotionally available? Have I protected her dignity? Have I taken responsibility for my influence? Leadership does not end when mistakes are made. It begins when mistakes are acknowledged. A wise man reflects before loss becomes permanent. He does not wait for silence to deepen. He does not wait for distance to grow. He acts early because rebuilding trust is harder than maintaining it, and peace, once lost, must be intentionally restored. Failing to protect your wife costs more than arguments. It costs atmosphere, connection, fulfillment, and eventually legacy. Because what you allow to decay today becomes regret tomorrow. A man who understands this does not wait for damage to become irreversible. He changes, not with words alone, but with consistent action. Because protection delayed is protection denied. And a man who wants peace must first take responsibility. That is where restoration begins. Your children are watching. Your family is learning. Your legacy is forming. Not someday, not later, right now. Every word you speak, every decision you make, every way you treat your wife. Legacy is not built at death. It is built daily. And the first classroom your children ever attend is your home. They are watching how you speak to their mother, how you respond when you disagree, how you handle stress, how you handle authority. They are learning what love looks like, not from your advice, but from your behavior. A man who protects his wife teaches his children what love looks like. Not loud love, not dramatic love, but consistent love. Love that listens, love that covers, love that stays. And love is the greatest inheritance you can leave behind. Money can be spent, property can be lost. Titles fade, but values are transferred. Children do not remember everything you say, but they remember how the home felt. Was it safe? Was it peaceful? Was it tense? They absorb atmosphere more than instruction. When a child sees a father protect his wife, they learn security. They learn that love is safe. That commitment is honorable. That leadership is responsibility, not dominance. A son who sees his father honor his mother learns how to treat women. A daughter who sees her father protect her mother learns what to expect from men. This is not theory. This is formation. Your marriage is shaping the next generation, whether you acknowledge it or not. When a man neglects his wife, he doesn't just hurt the marriage. He damages the blueprint. Children raised in unprotected homes learn to normalize tension. They learn to tolerate disrespect. They learn to suppress emotion. They learn to survive instead of thrive. But when a wife is protected, the home becomes stable, and stability creates confidence. Children raised in secure homes walk differently, speak differently, believe differently. They are not searching for safety everywhere because they were raised in it. Protecting your wife is protecting the future. Your grandchildren will feel the effects of how you love today. Generational impact is not abstract. It is practical. Patterns repeat. Unhealed behavior gets passed down. Unaddressed dysfunction becomes tradition. But so does strength. So does discipline. So does love. A man who breaks negative cycles is not just a husband. He is a builder. He understands that legacy is not perfection. It is intention. He chooses to model respect even when it is difficult. He understands that children learn more from how conflict is handled than from the absence of conflict. When they see reconciliation, they learn humility. When they see protection, they learn responsibility. When they see consistency, they learn trust. A man who protects his wife is planting seeds he may never see fully grown. That is legacy. Legacy is doing the right thing without immediate reward. It is choosing long-term impact over short-term comfort. It is understanding that leadership at home is more important than applause outside. Many men want to be remembered as successful. Few focus on being remembered as present, but presence leaves deeper marks than achievement. Ask anyone who grew up in a peaceful home, they carry confidence into the world. Ask anyone who grew up watching love modeled well, They know what to look for. That is inheritance. Protecting your wife teaches your children that love is not conditional, that commitment is not fragile, that family is worth defending. And those lessons shape how they build their own homes. A man who protects his wife does not just secure his marriage, he secures generations. Because strong families create strong communities, and strong communities create stable societies. Legacy always begins at home, not in public speeches, not in social recognition, but in private decisions. How you speak when no one is watching, how you respond when you are tired, how you choose love when it is inconvenient. Your children may never remember every sacrifice you made, but they will remember the safety you provided. And safety creates courage. Courage to love well, courage to lead responsibly, courage to build something better. Protecting your wife is not just a personal responsibility, it is a generational duty. You are writing a story others will live inside. Make it one of strength, of respect, of peace. Because when you protect your wife, you protect your legacy. And a man's true legacy is not what he leaves behind. It is what lives on because of how he lived. Be the man who understands that masculinity is not noise. It is discipline. Be the man who knows that leadership is not force. It is responsibility. Because everything you have heard up to this moment leads to one question. Who must you become to protect what matters most? Not who you were yesterday, not who culture told you to be, but who your home requires you to be. Be the man who protects without control. Protection does not mean dominance. It does not mean surveillance. It does not mean ownership. It means safety. Safety in your tone. Safety in your reactions. Safety in your decisions. A controlled man does not create peace. A protective man does. Control suffocates love. Protection allows it to breathe. Be the man whose strength makes others feel safe, not small. Be the man who leads without fear. Fear makes men defensive. Fear makes men aggressive. Fear makes men hide behind pride. Leadership rooted in fear always becomes harsh. But leadership rooted in purpose creates stability. A fearless leader is not one without fear. It is one who does not let fear decide. He does not avoid hard conversations. He does not run from accountability. He does not disappear when pressure arrives. He stands calm, measured, intentional, because fear-led men react. Purpose-led men respond. Be the man who loves without conditions. Conditional love keeps score. Unconditional love builds trust. This does not mean accepting disrespect. It means choosing commitment over convenience, choosing patience when emotions rise, choosing understanding when disagreement appears, choosing loyalty when temptation whispers. Love is not sustained by passion alone. It is sustained by decision, daily decisions. And every day you wake up, you choose again. Because when you protect your wife, you protect your home. A home is not walls. It is atmosphere. It is peace when you walk through the door. It is rest at the end of the day. It is knowing that the place you return to restores you instead of draining you. When you protect your wife, you protect your peace. Peace is not silence. It is alignment. Alignment between words and actions, between values and behavior, between leadership and responsibility. A man with peace does not chase validation. He does not fight unnecessary battles. He does not need to prove strength. Peace proves it for him. When you protect your wife, you protect your purpose. Because purpose is not fulfilled in isolation. It is fulfilled through stewardship, through consistency, through responsibility carried well. Your marriage is not a distraction from purpose. It is part of it. When you lead your home well, everything else aligns more easily. And when you protect your wife, you protect your life, not just your physical life, your inner life, your clarity, your fulfillment, your legacy. Because a man may survive success without love, but he will never be satisfied by it. This is not weakness. This is power under control. Uncontrolled power destroys. Controlled power builds. Any man can react. Few men can restrain themselves. Any man can demand respect. Few men can inspire it. Any man can rule by fear. Few men can lead by example. The man you must become is not louder, not harsher, not colder. He is wiser, calmer, more disciplined. He understands that his strength is not measured by how much he controls, but by how much he protects. He knows that real masculinity is responsibility carried quietly. No applause, no audience, just consistency. This man does not wait for crisis to change. He chooses growth now. He reflects, he adjusts, he commits, because he understands something simple and powerful. What he protects today will protect him tomorrow. So become the man your wife feels safe beside. Become the man your children learn from without words. Become the man whose home reflects his character. Not perfect, but intentional. Not flawless, but accountable. Because in the end, the greatest proof of a man's strength is not what he conquers outside. It is what he protects at home. If this message spoke to you, like this video, it tells the algorithm you value content that builds strong men and strong families. Share it with a man who needs this reminder, because real change spreads through accountability. Comment, I choose responsibility. Declare it publicly and inspire others. Subscribe for more messages that build strong men, strong families, and strong futures. Remember, protection starts with you. Be the man your family deserves.